welcome to today's meditation time. As you get comfortable in the spot that you have chosen for yourself, just allow the body just to settle. Don't take for granted that you don't need to go through these rituals of just settling the body and closing the eyes and connecting to the breath. They really are part of this practice. And so just really give yourself the chance to do that. Physically arrive, settle the body, notice the breath, and let everything just begin to soften. And as we've arrived into this time together, I would encourage each of us, just through these next few breaths that you'll take, just reflect on what's been filling up your mind today. What are the things that you've been focused on? What are the things that have taken your attention, your energy? Just kind of get a sense of where has your mind gone today? Where have your thoughts been focused? And our practice tonight is all about those very thoughts. We've been on this journey the last several times together, just sitting with the challenges of life. And how do we sit for meditation? How do we show up for these consistent, regular times and then still show up in life when the challenges come? How do we take this practice off of this metaphorical cushion and go live it out when life is hard? And so the lesson for today, for us to really just sit with, is how do our thoughts play into that? How do they help? How do they hinder? And so we'll sit with that idea for the next little bit of our time together. But first, let's just settle in with some collective breath. And so just take a slow, deep breath in together. And exhale, let it go. And a slow breath in together. And exhale, release. And one more together. And exhale. I love this unifying force of our breath, because for those few seconds, that's where we were focused. We were breathing in, we were breathing out. But we know that as we go through our days, we work, as we interact with our friends, our family, our colleagues, whoever it is, that we lose sight of that in-breath, that out-breath, and our mind tends to go so many different directions. There are some thoughts that we sit with for a long time, for a big part of our day. And there are some thoughts that fire in and out, coming and going before we even realize what has happened. But this practice really teaches us that as we can direct our thoughts, we will also direct our focus and will direct our energy. It doesn't mean that the mind won't be efficient and busy and distracted, but it does mean we have the capacity within us to choose the things that we focus on. And so I asked us just to pause and just think, what are the things that have filled your thoughts today? And maybe we go back at just even a few days before now. What are all the things that have just been sitting with you for the last week or so? Part of that, we marvel at just how amazing the mind is. And part of it, I would imagine, makes us a little tired when we think about how busy, how distracted our mind becomes. And so there's this story in the Indian culture when you think about meditation, and it talks about this great wise teacher teaching these new meditators the tools to first show up and then to be and then to live it out. And we know from this practice there's so many nuances to that, and some days we show up and all we think about is this present moment, and some days we show up and the present moment seems elusive, so far away. And so this teacher gave all of his students this first day a mantra, and he said, as you practice meditating, just say the word Om. Say the vibration of Om again and again and again. And see if that can't really just direct your thoughts, direct your energy, direct your focus. And so the students go away and they practice this repetition of Om, Om, Om. And then the next day or in the days to come, they come back and the student says, I tried it and it didn't work. So the teacher smiles and he says, okay, let's try something else. As you sit for meditation, picture your vision of this cosmic force that has created this universe. Maybe you call this force God. Maybe you have a different name. But just whatever picture that you imagine when you think of this force, meditate on that. And so the students are encouraged and they go on about their way and they practice trying to see the face of God, see the face of this force in the cosmos. And then they come back and tell the teacher it didn't work. And so the teacher smiles and he says, okay, then you tell me, what do you think about a lot? What are the things that fill up your thoughts? What are the things that you think about every day? And this one man says, well, I am a farmer and I worry about my cattle. I think about them as I go to sleep. I think about them as I wake up. I think about them all day. How I can keep them safe and provide for my family and live my life. And the teacher says, then go home and meditate on this cow, on these cows. Think on them. And so the student leaves and he goes out and he practices it. And then he doesn't come back for several days. And so the teacher goes to his home to visit him and knocks on the door and asks the student to come out. And the student says, I can't. I can't because the doorway is not wide enough. And the teacher probes and the student says, I meditated and I thought about these cows so long, that's what I've become. And the horns are just too wide for me to get through the door. And I know that there's this silliness to the story, but what the teacher was trying to teach this student is what we think on is what we become. He gave them the mantra of Om, this unifying vibration that brings the body and the mind and the spirit into harmony, that brings all of our layers of our consciousness into one, that unites me with you and you with the people in your life, but they couldn't seem to make that work. And then he said, okay, think about God. Think about the Lord. Think about whatever name that you give to this cosmic being that's made this world. And they couldn't do that either. Their minds were so filled with other things that that's what they became. And so I would ask us, what is your mind filled with? And maybe we're not so silly like these meditating students that we would sit here on our cushions and our spots and just think on that thing. But once we get up, those are the things that fill our thoughts. And no, we're not going to become this manifestation of this cow and these horns that can't pass through the door, but we are going to change. We're going to move further away from who we're meant to be because we're so distracted by the ruminations the complaints, the struggles, and we think about them all the time. And so I thought for our few minutes that we have, we could reset. We've all had these moments. Maybe it was a diagnosis with your health that just stuck with you and that's all you could think about. Maybe it was a relationship that was struggling and that was all you could think about. Or it was a job that you wanted, a job that you were fearful of losing. I could go on and on with all the examples, but the idea is, if we allow those things to fill our thoughts, we become worry. We become frustration. We become fear. We become doubt. But if we can fill our mind, our thoughts on purpose with the things that we aspire to be, then I have this assurance that that is what we become. So let's just pause and reset. And first we'll start with the breath. And then I'd like to just give us a few words that we can maybe focus on, that could lessen the impact of the worry and the fear and the doubt and the anxiety that consume our thoughts. So as you breathe in, notice all the parts of the body that are affected by that breath. Feel them. And then as you breathe out, notice there as well. Pay attention as you breathe in. Think about that breath. And then notice and just follow the breath as it goes out. And then one more time like that, just notice breathing in and breathing out. And then I'm going to just repeat some words. And let's see if one of those resonates with you, and then you just keep repeating it in your mind, and let's think on that. Let's become that. As much as the silly man became the cow that he worried about night and day, what if we become these things instead? So just continue to breathe. See if there's a word that just resonates. And if it does, hang on to it, repeat it. Give it your focus. Give it your energy. Peace. 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 Gratitude. 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 Faith. 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 Love. 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 Calm. 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 There's so many beautiful words that we can fill our thoughts with, but we have to do it on purpose. Because if we don't, the mind will choose for us. It'll focus on that hardship that you're experiencing. It'll focus on that negative situation you're having to navigate. It'll focus on that person in your life that's just making things hard for you. And then eventually, you become those things. You feel it in your person, you feel it in your heart, you feel it in the heaviness of your soul. But what if instead you could be peace? You could be love. You could be gratitude. You could be faith. You could be calm. And so if there's a different word for you, choose that one. But for these next just moments of quiet, maybe you repeat it audibly, maybe it just kind of rolls around in your head and you just see it. Peace, peace, peace. Let's change. Let's change our thoughts. Let's change what it is that we're becoming and go back to the essence of who we were always meant to be. And as you continue to breathe and hopefully just ponder these alternatives to how our mind works, I want to close our time with just sharing just a conversation that I had with a dear friend yesterday. Her husband is battling and has been for some time a really terrible form of cancer. And she has a yoga practice and she has a meditation practice, and she's also a wife who's worried about a husband. And as I was checking on her and we were just talking about what's going on, she said to me yesterday, I want to choose to not just be the woman whose husband has cancer. I want to fill my mind and my thoughts with something different. Because I don't think I can care for him in the right way if I'm so consumed on just being the woman whose husband has cancer. And her words have kind of sat with me since then, since yesterday, and this idea of this sweet meditating student turning into his cow. And I thought, no matter what our struggle is, no matter what situation we're each going through, we have to make a choice. Because if not, the choice will be made for us and these things will consume us. But what if we were consumed by peace and gratitude and love and faith and calm? Let's meditate on those things as we leave our time. And each time you get quiet and you notice a pause in your day, go back to those words. Fill your mind with those things and see how it begins to shift this person that you are becoming. It truly is within our scope to choose. It's within our control. We just have to be intentional about it. Namaste.